Outerversal. If you know Powerscaling, you definitely know this term. Pass from one random character to the next. Who do you think of when you think of an Outerversal character or higher? Do you think of Marvel or DC's gods and top tiers? Or do you think of something else? Do you think of Featherine, Persona, D&D, maybe even Composite Godzilla? Well, I think of Honkai. And I know this might be quite the hot take, I do think Honkai should be consistently in those Outerversal tiers of power, to the joy of some and dismay of others, I guess. So I might as well explain why. Here's why. Why I think Honkai is really Outerversal, and who would scale to these Outerversal tiers, which we'll get onto a little bit later.
Did you know that there was an illegal gambling operation going on just down the street from where you live?
Down the street, it's right there. Or it was right there. Is that actually happening? That's concerning. That's really concerning. Yeah, no, it was happening there, but no, it's done. That's a thing of the past.
Let's go! Let's freaking go! Before we get into specifics on why these characters are Outerversal, we need to define what Outerversal is. And for this, I'll be using the Versus Battle Wiki's definition and Character Stats Wiki's definition as well, as both definitions vary a bit slightly. For Character Stats Wiki definition, it's quite simple actually. It's just being beyond dimensionality. They're beyond any dimensional measure or transcendent to it, whatever you want to call it. Either being transcendent to it, beyond it, so on, so forth. It's quite simple as that, not much more explanation needed. Other things that could simply qualify for this tier are transcending high hyperversal to a qualitative degree, which we'll get into later, or transcending the concepts of space and time, as if you're transcending those concepts, you would be inherently transcending dimensionality, as the concepts of space and time would inherently entail all of dimensions. But let's go into the Versus Battle Wiki definition, which is a little bit different. Pretty much what I just said applies to low Outerversal instead most of the time. Unless the verse has really consistent evidence of it, or you're transcending a low Outerversal structure, then usually transcending dimensions or being above dimensions is something usually qualified for those low Outerversal tiers of power, and then transcending that is usually what clauses for Outerversal in a qualitative sense. Now, I know I just spat a lot on you, but let's run it down real quick for a baby definition. CSAP's definition is a lot more simple than Versus Battle Wiki's. CSAP's is literally just you need to transcend dimensionality, or the concept of it within the cosmology, and with a similar state of existence can be argued with transcending the concepts of space and time. Versus Battle Wiki is a little more explicit, saying that these baseline transcendent dimension states are only low Outerversal, however with proper contextualization, it's possible to just get this to flat out Outerversal, or transcending a low outer construct would be. And I also used a big word that some of you might not even know the definition of. Qualitative superiority. It essentially means that you need to be above something above a simple numerical amount. For example, if I'm 10 times stronger than the dimensionality of a verse, or I'm simply stated to be superior to dimensionality, you can argue that this would not be Outerversal, as you're simply still bound to it by numerical amount. While if you completely transcend the entire concept, in which no numerical value can be determined between the gap between me and dimensions, that would qualify for Outerversal. Now, if you I think that you understand this concept a little bit better, which is a little bit murky for some people, especially since Versus Battle Wiki has changed their definition like 5 fucking times, so as far as I know, this video is going to be outdated in a bit when Versus Battle Wiki changes back their definitions. So, after that, let's just go into why Honkai would be Outerversal, and contend some common contentions used. Argument A would be the very obvious cocoon of finality transcending dimension scans. As stated here, the cocoon of finality is something that is transcendent to all dimensions. This is something backed up in pretty much every translation of the original text I could find, no matter if it's DeepL, personal translators, ChatGPT, which even offered to just properly in-depth explain to me each meaning of the word, or Google Translate. The result is that the cocoon of finality is just flat out transcendent of all dimensions. Not just one or two, all of them. In fact, the translators make it worse, since it quite literally just says beyond all dimensions for some of them, or even just directly says transcendent, which is not simply, oh, he's 10 times stronger than the concept of dimensionality. No, he would be entirely qualitative superiority to it. This would actually be consistent, as the imaginary singularity, something below the Kahuna finality, is described to be dimensionless. While normally this is only low 1A, these types of statements can be used to support or flat out other Outerversal statements to qualify for Outerversal. Hell, if you want, the concept of dimensionality has even been referenced to things like the simulated universe, which is only a parallel universe to the actual universe, which obviously, as we'll get into a little bit later, this is quite low in the cosmology. These statements are even more consistent, as some characters are implied to create the concept of time and space as well, just adding more consistency. So consistency isn't the problem, but then what is the problem? There's a lot of arguments I could mention, but I'll just kind of go through the ones that are mostly used. I can't cover like the hundreds of arguments that are probably used against this.
I love you so much, my blueberry muffin. I love you too, my Popeye's biscuit with no drink. Nah, shit, tripping. Bro, hey, no way. Can you do that cute thing you did for me earlier? You mean this? Ow! Oh, you're so hot when you do that. Bro, can y'all take y'all weird ass somewhere else? Y'all been doing this for 2 hours now. Babe, you're gonna let him talk to us like that? Shh, get away from us. Bro, I'm not scared of you, bro. I'm just saying, y'all keep doing that weird stuff, bro. Like, y'all can't take that somewhere. Get away from us. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't know what you're doing with your hands, but I want no parts of that, okay? But hey, y'all keep doing you, okay? Do you. Nah, jit weird as hell. I'm gonna leave their ass alone. That's crazy.
I've seen people claim it doesn't relate to HP, which not only sees that Kiana is equal to this dimension structure, or this structure beyond dimensionality. If you exist beyond dimensionality, your existence would inherently correlate to your AP, as no lower being would be able to affect, harm, or take attacks or even perceive your existence. B. Inconsistencies and anti-feats. Yes, obviously this stuff exists. Most large verses like this have just anti-feats, that you can argue, for example, make higher length of scaling inconsistent, which just like Honkai isn't valid. Like, for example, this statement right here. Not only can you argue this refers to fodder random purchases like Wendy and not downscale any top tiers, as pretty blatantly stated, all that's really said here is that creating a bomb enough to destroy the universe or the world would require a lot of energy, which, yeah, that's just kind of a general statement. I don't think it matters what verse you're in, it's still going to create a lot of energy to destroy the universe. That's quite obvious. It doesn't downscale anything. And some of these statements could actually be referring to smaller bubble universes. As we know, bubble universes vastly different in size, while some are just flat out higher dimensional. Some could be only the size of a city, as implied here. We'll get to this a little bit later. Something we also need to understand is how outliers work in the first place, which is a big claim I've seen. Not only does this video prove this line of scaling is consistent for the top tiers, outliers usually need contradictions. Not usually. Oh, weaker characters perform weaker feats, or oh, this character commonly performs a weaker feat, so this consistent higher end for the character is invalid. That's not how an outlier works. There usually needs to be at least some firm contradictions, but I've just most of them, which are quite silly all things considered. The next reason why Honkai could be attributed to Outerversal is how the bubble universes work, and they're essentially in a hierarchy. As we know, there's infinite bubble universes made up of infinite bubble universes within them. However, something we also know is that bubble universes vastly vary in size. Some are as small as a city, while others are higher and multi-dimensional constructs. This is important to note since it's stated that bubble universes work in a hierarchy, each one superseding the one below it, and are straight up just higher dimensional than the ones below it. Some even having multi-dimensional constructs or containing the idea of dimensionality as a whole. We've seen, for example, bubble universes outright be 4D.
While space and time are practically infinite.
So since there is a infinite hierarchy with each one transcending the last, and we know each one is at least getting higher dimensional than the last to a degree, or at least some of them would, this would actually qualify for a high hyperversal construct, as this would be an infinite dimensional construct. This is important as the sea of quanta is entirely beyond the comprehension of any bubble universe, which would make it low Outerversal, and the imaginary tree is entirely beyond the comprehension of the sea of quanta, and the same logic applies to the imaginary space, and then the same thing for the Kahuna finality. This would just flat out be Outerversal as they're transcending low Outerversal constructs. Maybe even it could be a bit higher if you want to say that they're transcending Outerversal constructs as well, which maybe you can interpret to a higher level of scaling. But since we're only trying to prove their baseline Outerversal for now, there's really no need to do this, as it would still be Outerversal regardless. But for the question, who scales to this tier of power? Obviously Kiana does, as she's equal to the Kahuna finality, and is the only one who can embrace it, and therefore Kevin should scale as well. Even if Kiana is stronger than him, he's still one of the few people who actually scales to Kiana. Obviously, all of the eons scale here too. Just the fact that Kiana and Emulators are in the same discussion should prove that eons are above Kiana. Vita and anyone who's stronger than Vita should scale, as Vita does scale to a percentage of the Kumuna finality. She's obviously quite below Kiana, but a percentage of an outer construct is still Outerversal, and she would still mean she has to be in the same tier of existence to even minorly affect something that transcends dimensionality and stuff, which also means Sparkle scales to Vita, since both are holding back. But once again, even if she's holding back, it doesn't lower her existence or durability. Nothing says that she's lowering her existence to like a lower realm. You can hold back and still be the same tier of existence, which in fact it would be quite hard to prove she's holding back to such a degree where her existence itself is being lowered and she's in a lower dimensional form or anything. And since Sparkle should be below most Emulators, it should mean at least any top tier Emulator should be Outerversal as well, or anyone on this tier of power. Acheron, Sunday with his robot, Scarbaz, Fei Xiao, Jigliu, Jing Yuan, maybe some others as well. And you can also maybe argue some lesser characters with lesser Emulator scaling could be Outerversal as well. But yeah, I think this is it. I hope I sufficiently proved to you why Hoyo is actually having good arguments for Outerversal, a lot more underrated than people think. And no, not everyone does not scale to this tier of power. Most purchasers and most characters in Honkai Star Rail 2 don't scale to this power unless you're an Eon and maybe some of the Emulators too. I think it's fine for at least like the top tier guys like Acheron and shit. But like, obviously like not Yang Queen is outer or something. So, I mean, if you want to argue that, sure, I'm not going to stop you. I don't care that much, but I wouldn't argue it. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Like, subscribe, and peace.